The story begins by introducing us to our main protagonist named Mo Fun, the most worthless and lowest ranked student without any future in sight. He was nervous about the entrance exam he had to take part in, and it wasn't due to him lacking in class, but rather because the subject was about magic. In this academy he enters, all of the third grade students will soon enter the desired school of magic. But for this, they need to pass a demanding test exam. Mo Fun explains that he hasn't had the right amount of time to study because 3 months ago, he was sleeping in the mountains, where he was greeted by a mysterious old man who gave him a necklace. So now his classmates always annoy and make fun of him for being the one most likely not to pass, and shame him for being the worst in the class. We then get introduced to a boy named Mubai, who is the complete opposite of Mo Fun, and is the most popular in his class, also known for being a part of a family who specializes in ice magic. After school, his father is waiting outside, and although his father has always been very humble and does whatever is necessary for the good of his son, he is still worried about his son's future as his grades are low and doesn't have enough points to get into the school of magic. But he tells his son that he found him a job as a delivery driver, which he can do instead of magic. But Mo Fun pleads with his father and promises he will study even more to get into the school of his dreams. So his father tells him not to worry and says he will do anything he can to make sure he gets into the magic school. While walking home with his friend, Mo Fun saw his father speaking to his boss. He is the leader of the Mu family, who are the richest and most powerful in the city. However, this family has a humiliating personality, especially with Mo Fun's family. During a flashback scene, we see that they have known the Mu family for quite some time, and when Mo Fun was younger he spent a lot of time with the daughter of the Mu family. Then one day the daughter wanted to escape from her family because she doesn't agree with the way they do things. So she sneaks out and asks Mo Fun to help her escape. However, they were caught by the boss, and he ended up punishing Mo Fun's father for his actions. We now go back to the present, and the boss said that he will help with his son's future and make sure he gets into the school of magic, but only in exchange for their house and mortgage, so he can turn it into his land. His father then agrees to give up their home, just so Mo Fun can have a chance to become a magician. Later on, when he breaks the news to his son, Mo Fun is ecstatic about going to the school of magic. But his father doesn't mention the fact that he had to give up their own home in exchange for this opportunity. Instead, he tells Mo Fun he will be renting out their house once he enters the Magic Academy. But Mo Fun knows the real truth since he saw him earlier talking with the boss. The next day, everyone starts their first day of magic school, where all the students will need to awaken their elemental powers. Some of the students discuss the elemental powers they obtain once they go through the awakening process, and they say that lightning and fire are the rarest powers. The teacher gives everyone a badge to wear, and once they obtain their power it will light up according to the element they possess. For instance, green would be wind, red is for fire, blue is ice, and gold is for light. The other classmates make fun of Mo Fun for being the only student who didn't pass the exams, and everyone tells him not to be surprised if he can't be awakened. Each student will need to place their hand on the stone, which will reveal their elemental power. Mubai is the first to use the stone, and he was given the ice power, just like the rest of his family. Once you obtain the elemental power, the badge will show stars representing the level of your ability. However, most people don't have many stars to begin with, but Mubai already has 1 star, showing his ability is strong. The other students take turns using the stone until it's finally Mo Fun's turn, and then the teacher calls out his name, while the others laugh, saying he will be given the worst power in the class. So Mo Fun walks up and stands in front of the class and places his hand on the stone. The others are still laughing since he doesn't know how to use the stone properly, but the teacher helps him. After some time nothing happens, then the whole class gets distracted by the classroom next door, because another student has obtained the purple ability, which is lightning. It is known as the rarest ability along with the element of fire. While everyone leaves the classroom, Mo Fun closes his eyes and the stone lights up purple but also lights up red at the same time, indicating the Mo Fun has gained not only the element of fire but also the lightning ability, something that has never been seen before, and also making him the most powerful student in the school. Although nobody saw what happened, because they were being distracted by the other student next door who also obtained the lightning power. But they all see that Mo Fun has acquired the element of fire. The teacher congratulates him, and the other students are surprised as they all thought he was going to get one of the worst elements. Mo Fun then starts laughing in his head because he knows he just obtained the lightning power, but everyone thinks he only has the fire element. 2 months later, all the students are told by their teacher that there are 7 stars which will appear once they are awakened, and they will need to learn how to control the stars by concentrating, so they can form a star path, which will allow them to unlock their full power. The teacher asks Mubai to demonstrate how to align the stars, since Mubai has already gained 5 stars, which makes him the highest ranking student in the class. However, Mo Fun only has 1 star. They all make fun of him and laugh because he hasn't made any progress with his element, and they all say he's an embarrassment to the rest of the class. But the reason he only has 1 star next to his badge is because the badge represents the fire element, and not his lightning power, which is already at 6 stars, and he still needs to master the 7th star. Later on, Mofun stumbles across his sister at the park. His sister is disabled and can't walk unless she uses the wheelchair, but Mofun notices that the thugs have taken her wheelchair away and begin to make fun of his sister. He went over to the thugs and asks for the wheelchair back, but they tell him to get lost or they will make him disabled just like his sister. He gets angry, and at this moment he uses the stars to unlock his full power, and he managed to form the star path, activating the 7th star. Mofun uses the lightning ability to attack the thugs who beg for mercy and fear, and eventually run away. Mubai visits the boss of the family, and they discuss his 5-star abilities, and the boss is proud of Mubai for how far he has come so far. He asks Mubai about Mofun, to which he replies saying that Mofun is only a 1-star and is branded as the school's worst magician. The boss told Mubai they will need to find a way to take Mofun out of the class and make him fail their next exam, and they both start laughing. The next day, Mubai asks him how he plans to get Mofun expelled from the school, to which he replies saying he will use this small stone, also known as a magic stone, which can absorb energy, and they can use it to make sure Mofun gets worse than a D in his next exam. But their plan might not work out so well, because Mofan has been training his fire power, and has the ability to use 5 stars, but he says it's still not good enough and that his fire energy is low. So he begins to concentrate more than ever before to prove to the Mu family that he is a worthy magician, and deserves to be at the School of Magic. The day of the exam is here, and the teacher explains that they will be doing a test on how powerful they have become over the last couple of months. To test their powers, they will use a crystal ball which can determine the amount of power they have reached, because the ball will glow, and if it glows up the right amount, then they have become strong enough to pass the exam. All the students line up in formation and begin testing their powers using the crystal ball. The school's most outstanding student, named Mu Ningzu, has been selected to demonstrate the exam before the rest of the students take part. She uses the crystal and it reveals the power of her ice magic, which shocks the other students. Everyone starts to take turns using the ball and revealing their power levels. Some of them get a B and A's, and then eventually Mubai has his turn and he reaches the grade S, which is the max grade you can receive. Then Mofun has his name called out to test his power, and when he gets called out, the boss notifies the examiner to place the magic stone under the crystal ball to absorb Mofun's true power, resulting in him only getting a B. Mofun is suspicious and feels like something must be wrong, as he's sure that his power is greater than this. So Mofun uses the ball again, and this time he ends up breaking the stone. This time, after seeing Mofun's second try, his new teacher felt like something was wrong with the crystal ball and tells them it must be a faulty, so the inspector changes the ball. Upon changing the ball, we finally get to see Mofun's true power, and as a result they gave him an S score, impressing all his classmates. He goes on to tell the examiners that he also wants to do the optional test, and here is where he shocks the other classmates as they get to witness the full power of the fire element. And they're all shocked that he is considered the number 1 and most powerful in his class. After that, the Mu family leader Mu Zhuo offers Mofun a ring as a symbol of his respect and admiration for getting a S rating, and asks Mofun to put all their family differences aside and offers him to work for and represent the Mu family from now on. But Mofun takes this opportunity to tell him why he and his whole family are total scumbags with money, who go around humiliating others, just as they did it with his father. The teacher tells Mofun to calm down and to apologize to Mu Juno, but Mofun said he won't apologize and mentions all the things the Mu family did to them 3 years ago. The Mu family tells the teacher he should be kicked out for being rude to guests of the school, but the teacher said he can't be expelled for having an argument unless it went too far. So then the Mubai challenges Mofun to a duel, and the leader of the Mu family said that he will be dueling his foster son called Yuang, and Mofun accepts the duel match. However, this duel can only happen in 2 years because they are not old enough yet and the school wouldn't allow it. 2 years later, the new semester begins, and the professor welcomes them to the elite class, only for the top-ranked mages, where the students will receive exclusive relics known as magic EQs that will drastically help and improve their magic training. The top 4 students in the class will have a month to use the EQ and boost their training. However, the teacher tells Mofun that because of the argument he had with the Mu family, he will only get to use the EQ equipment for 10 days. But Mofun actually has another EQ, which is the necklace that the old man gifted him when he was sleeping in the mountains, just before entering the academy. His teacher Miss Tang Yu visits Mo Fun, who explains to him that this necklace is the most powerful relic which was thought to be extinct. She told him that this necklace is a growth type of ek which absorbs all types of souls and spirits and continues to grow all your abilities, so he should cherish it. Miss Tang Yu and the students head up into the mountains to meet the leader of an army to do some basic training. Or so they thought, since the leader of the army wants these students to participate in an exercise called the hunting program, where these students will be hunting real enemies and will get to test their mage skills. So Mo Fun and the others start completing various different tasks until they come across a cave. The leader of the army told them to retrieve a bracelet which he lost inside the cave, but the one-eyed wolf was lurking around inside the cave. The commander told them it was the real one-eyed wolf inside the cave. But that was a lie, because the wolf is called the spirit wolf, which is under the command of their orders to go soft of the students to fully test their skills. They all head inside the cave and eventually come across the giant wolf who they will need to defeat. Most of the students are frightened, apart from Mu Bai, who uses his ice magic, but it doesn't do much to the monster as he's not strong enough yet. Mo Fun then quickly helped the girl who was brave enough to step in front of the beast, but Mo Fun knew she wouldn't be able to harm it, and took her out the cave, and he tells everyone to stay back. But the same girl ran back inside to prove that she's a strong mage. However, even her second attempt didn't hurt the monster, and she was saved just in time by the student with the lightning power. Mu Bai goes in for his second attempt but gets thrown to the ground. Then Mo Fun enters the cave just in time and puts his magic to the test by activating all 7 stars on his power. He uses the fire element to blast fireballs at the beast, and it unlocked a new level of ignition, and now he's a level 2 ignite on his fire element, which shocks the teachers who are watching from above. The commander then notifies the other students that the wolf is no longer listening to his commands and he can't control it, so the students may be in danger, so they go down to save them. The beast was out of control, so Mo Fun and his friend Zhang Xiao lured the beast into the cave in order to protect the other students. After they both lure him in, the beast attacked Zhang Xiao and he was knocked down. Then for the first time, Mo Fun combines both his abilities to take down the spirit wolf. After slaying the beast, his necklace starts to absorb all the energy from the spirit, making him even more powerful. His teacher tells him he's surprised that a student was able to defeat the wolf, as the wolf's power is just as strong as the real one-eyed wolf. As the task was completed, all students will receive a score on the test, all thanks to Mo Fun. But Mo Fun doesn't care about the praise, as he is more focused on releasing his true power. Once he defeated the beast, he was able to unlock level 2 fire, and realizes how powerful it was against the monster. So he aims to achieve the same level 2 power for the lightning, as lightning is known to be the strongest element. He remembers everything Miss Yang told him about the necklace, which he can use to absorb many different spirits and souls. So he decides to become a hunter to evolve the necklace and improve his powers. So Mo Fun heads into the city to join the elite team of hunters to level up even more. He enters the mage halls and asks a stranger who is talking about the city of hunter mages and asks him how to join. He tells Mo Fun that there's a huge waiting line in order to join, and also that they won't accept mages unless you're a fire power or above. So Mo Fun tells him, how about the lightning power? To which the man replies saying you shouldn't lie to try and join and to tell the truth. The man seems to believe Mo Fun truly doesn't have the lightning power, and explains that only 1 in 1,000 mages acquire this element. So Mo Fun leaves while he's talking to him. The leader of the hunters is tired of all the low-ranking mages who keep applying to the city hunters program, and asks his associates to only bring in the people who have had some experience as a hunter before, or the fire mages, as they are known to be more powerful. They eventually get to Mo Fun and they ask him for his hunter certificate, to which he replies saying he doesn't own one. So they tell him to get lost, as they only want experienced hunters and not newbies. He tells them that he is a lightning power mage and shocks them, as they have never seen a lightning mage in person, as they are very rare. They ask him to prove it, and he forms the star path using his lightning ability. He introduces himself as Fan Mope. He then meets the leader, who accepts him into the city hunters and explains that they have a mission at a local school where the monsters have attacked. But they tell Mo Fun to stay behind as he's only a new member, but he tells them he wants to join them on this mission. Mo Fun then realizes that the school which was attacked by the monsters is his sister's school, so he calls her and she tells him she's okay, but the other students have been taken by the monsters. Mo Fun arrives at the scene and starts to investigate, and soon meets the one-eyed beast, which seems to be quite strong. He faces off with the beast, and fortunately it reaches the rest of the team, who now demonstrate why they are known as the elite group of hunters. That's when the youngest of the group made a mistake while using her powers, but thanks to the Mo Fun's lightning power, he managed to take down the beast. The beast was totally paralyzed, preventing the girl from getting hurt. They all thank Mo Fun for being there and saving the Mage of Water's life, and accept him as a part of the team. Mo Fun begins to fit in well with the group and became a respected hunter. The Mu family have been preparing the strongest male ice mage called Yang, and he will be the one that will be doing the duel with Mo Fun. Young asks him why he selected him as the mage to fight Mo Fun, and the boss explains that it's to celebrate his coming of age and he can invite the whole family to celebrate. Meanwhile at school, his classmate Ju Min asks Mo Fun to meet him after school. She explains that she heard stories about strange things happening at this compound and she wanted to investigate the area with the strongest mage in the class, to which he agrees and helps her discover the area. They come across another one-eyed create, but this one was different, and he tells her this is the one-eyed wolf the city hunters have been going after all this time. He tells her that he will give the location to the rest of the team, but Ju Min already phoned the police. The one-eyed wolf heard the sound of the ringing phone and instantly chased them both down. So Mo Fun does everything he possibly can to take care of the monster. However, even after several of his most powerful attacks, he cannot seem to kill the beast. That's when a member of the city hunters called Kai Tang arrives from the city. She is an ice mage who is also a part of the Mu family. Then Minju told her about Mo Fun, who's currently fighting the one-eyed wolf, and they quickly rushed over to help him just in time to immobilize the wolf. Kai Tang remembers Mo Fun because he saw her when he was younger and she caught him through the window. She then told Yuang that his name is Mo Fun and that he attends the School of Magic and insulted their uncle. Yuang is surprised that he just saw Mo Fun for the first time, as this is the guy he will be dueling with. When Mo Fun runs away, she calls the city hunters and explains that they have tamed the one-eyed wolf, but they need Fun Mo's lightning power to paralyze it. Upon arriving, he meets all the other hunters who ask him to use the lightning power on the wolf. However, after using his power, the wolf turns red and eventually evolves into something called a general class and gets even stronger, which shocks them and they are unsure whether they can defeat a create of this strength. Some agree to back out and leave, as the odds are in its favor, but the captain insists they should at least try to defeat it, as many lives are at risk if they just do nothing. This is when they all come together and use their powers with all their might, and they try to contain the beast, which turns out to be quite resistant, and although they are very experienced mages, the wolf doesn't stop increasing its strength. So after that they corner up as a group, and Mo Fun decides to use the lightning power to stun the wolf. He manages to maintain it for a while, but this is still no match for the beast, as this particular wolf is still a much higher level than them. So their only hope is this guy, who suddenly appears out of nowhere. He is the strongest water mage in Asia named Mr. Yang. Mr. Yang uses his advanced water element to eliminate the beast and gives praise towards Mo Fun for being brave enough to go head-to-head against the one-eyed wolf. Afterwards, Mo Fun absorbs the soul from the wolf and obtains a new level of power into his necklace. Soon the day of his fight against Yuang approaches, and the director gives him a little encouragement, but at the same time he's worried, since he doesn't have much confidence that he'll win. The director tells him the real purpose of this event, which is the exclusive reward for the winner. They will have access to the Sacred Spring, an arena where the mage skills can be improved in a drastic way. This makes Mo Fun realize how Mr. Yang was so powerful, as he must have went to the Sacred Springs in order to achieve the advanced level mage. So now Mo Fun is really intrigued at winning this contest, but it seems like everyone doesn't have any faith in him. He even talks his childhood friend and she tells him that he better not show up, as Yuang will not hold back, and she doesn't want to see him get hurt. But Mo Fun tells her that he should be the one to be scared, as he is fully prepared for tomorrow. He said that he's been waiting for this day to fight for his honor, and to beat the family who has humiliated his dad for many years. The day of the duel arrives and Mo Fun approaches the convention, where all the most important people in the city will be attending, to witness Yuang's coming of age. All the guests arrive outside, and Mo Fun approaches Kai Tang, who tells him he shouldn't be walking on the red carpet and acting like a VIP guest. Mo Fun forgot that they don't know he's their friend Fan Mo, who's a part of the city hunters. Mo Fun turned up on his own, but some of his friends show up, including his classmates, the army leader from the training program, and his father are all here to support him, although most of them knew he wouldn't win. They both shake hands and the duel begins. They both show incredible power, but because Yuang is a part of the Mu family, he has very unique magic equipment, allowing him to move incredibly fast, making it hard for Mo Fun to get a single hit. Yuang taunts him and says his level 3 ice power is too strong for his level 2 fire ignite, and unleashes a ice storm attack on Mo Fun. So Mo Fun remembers his training from the City of Hunters, where he absorbs the wolf's soul and aligns the 7th star to release his true fire ability, where he creates a fireball all around him, which protects him from the ice storm. He then uses a fire explosion to knock down Yuang. However, Yuang gets back up and tells Mo Fun he's lucky he unlocked his level 3 ability, or a piece of trash like him could never win. He then reveals why he's so strong by using a specialized body armor, to which the Mu family leader is surprised they have to use this armor kit against a nobody like Mo Fun, who is only high school student. Everyone in the crowd says how unfair the match is due to Yuang using the armor, and even the leader of the army tells Mo Fun to quit the duel match immediately, as he wouldn't be able to damage a mage in the full body armor. Then Yuang tells Mo Fun that the armor was a gift from his father and expresses how Mo Fun's father could never buy him anything of the sort and tells him he's a poor kid and 2 quit as 3's no reason to go any further. But Mo Fun remembers what his father did for him to get him into the School of Magic and proceeds with the duel by unleashing his maximum lightning power and reveals for the first time that he is a double elemental mage to everyone. This time he combines the powers and manages to break Yuang's body armor, and it all ends with an amazing but unexpected victory from Mo Fun. After Mo Fan's unexpected victory, the young mage confronts Mu Joyan and sternly asks for an apology. The talented magician criticizes Joyan for using his wealth and influence to abuse others and reprimands him for his crimes. Though Joyan is an extremely stubborn man, Mo Fan forces him to budge as the affluent man apologizes to the teen and his dad. After the exchange, Mo Fan drops the subject and heads out to celebrate his win with his classmates. That evening, the group holds a massive feast and eats to their fill before retiring for the night. The following day, Mo Fan prepares for his sacred spring visit but takes a break to shop with his disabled sister, Xingxia. At their local store, Mo Fan gifts his sister a custom-made bracelet, and eventually exits the shop after spending several hours there. On their way home, one of Mo Fan's classmates, Xiaohu, runs into the siblings and offers to take Xingxia home. Already running late for his sacred spring trip, Mo Fan accepts Xiaohu's offer and parts with his sister as he heads to the training arena. On his arrival, Mo Fan is greeted by his teacher alongside Joyan. Together, the trio makes their way to the building's 15th floor, where the sacred spring resides. As Mo Fan heads out to begin his training, the tutor gives him a brief lecture about the sacred spring. The veteran teacher reveals the arena helps elemental mages to level up and obtain a more potent power system called Star Chart Magic. With this ability, a sorcerer's talent rises exponentially as they attain Nebula status, the pinnacle of all spells and sorcery. After the quick lesson, the tutor hands Mo Fan the Book of Star Chart, a magical item that allows its users to access overwhelming magic once they attain Nebula status. Having received all the essential info he needs, Mo Fan bids his teacher goodbye and heads on to the sacred spring. On his way there, Mo Fan runs into his teammate from the City Hunters, a vigilante squad that targets dangerous magical beasts. From him, Mo Fan learns that an investigation is being conducted on a high school girl who recently went missing. Apparently, a strange fluid was found at the crime scene, which detectives suspect is crucial in solving the case. Lin Yuxin, the missing girl's sister, is also the Sacred Springs deputy captain and gets the strange fluid examined by some scientists. Obtaining the report, Lin discovers that the mystery liquid is a substance known as the Spring of Rage. As its name implies, this fluid is used on monsters and causes them to grow aggressive while also increasing their bloodlust. This discovery explains some strange occurrences happening in the area, as the city has experienced a massive influx of monsters over the past few weeks. While the investigation continues, Mo Fan arrives at the Sacred Spring and commences his 7-day training schedule. Inside, the teen mage is cut off from the outside world and left alone to hone his skills. Meanwhile, over at the city's borders, chaos strikes as an army of monstrous beasts emerges out of nowhere. Seeing this, the military, made entirely of talented sorcerers, informs the city and sends a distress signal to alert its citizens. Following protocol, 4 red lights are emitted into the sky, thus signifying the threat level is catastrophic. Within seconds, the entire city is overrun with various forms of creatures as civilians scatter in fear. While mayhem plagues the area, Mo Fan is oblivious to the beast's invasion and continues training in the Sacred Spring. Moments later, the creatures reach the spring's building but are confronted by a squad of mages led by Mu Ningxu, Mo Fan's childhood friend and Joyan's daughter. As the two sides battle, Ningxu and the mages gain the upper hand as her ice powers take down multiple beasts in one clean swoop. However, the sorcerer's advantage doesn't last long as the creatures retaliate and fire an energy blast that injures Joyan. Realizing her dad desperately requires medical attention, Ningxu mounts Joyan on a bird and flees the scene to a nearby safe haven. With the defending forces dwindling, the savage beasts pass the mages and invade the building. This intrusion alerts the inner guards, including Lin, who decides to check on Mo Fan. Luckily, she arrives right in time and disarms one of the creatures before it gets to the teen mage. As the area is under attack, Mo Fan's training is cut short as the amateur sorcerer fails to attain the Nebula status. Following emergency protocol, Lin locks the surrounding doors and evacuates the Sacred Spring. Using her powers as a water mage, Lin drains the entire spring and fits it in a small jar for safekeeping. With all the water drained, the deputy captain leads Mo Fan through a hidden tunnel as they escape the building. On the way out, Mo Fan suspects the beast's attack might have been strategic and questions why the deputy captain chose to drain the Sacred Spring. In response, Lin reveals the scientists' findings about the strange fluid and explains its connection to the creature's sudden attack. It turns out a terrorist organization known as the Black Curia seeks to destroy the area and utilize the savage beasts to achieve their goal. To manipulate the creatures, they invented the Spring of Rage and infused it with rainwater. As a result, the monster's bloodlust reaches an unquenchable level, driving them to invade the city and attack its people. Though the Spring of Rage is a powerful liquid, its strength pales in comparison to the sacred spring. In light of this, Lin theorizes that the Black Curia would be after it and emphasizes the importance of keeping the spring safe. Once the duo escapes the building, Mo Fan discovers the city is in utter disarray and moves to find Xingxia and his dad, Jiaxing. However, before Mo Fan can leave, Lin stops him and asks for a favor. Due to her position as the deputy captain, Lin realizes the sacred spring would be unsafe in her hands as she'd be the Black Curia's prime target. To prevent the spring from falling into the terrorists' hands, Lin gives Mo Fan the jar and asks him to deliver it to the city's safety barrier. However, to accomplish this, Mo Fan would have to postpone the search for his family and spend hours trying to reach the barrier. Naturally, the teen mage opposes the idea and chooses to prioritize his family over Lin's mission. The deputy captain pleads with Mo Fan to reconsider and explains that the Black Curia would be unstoppable if they gained possession of the sacred spring. Finally seeing reason, Mo Fan accepts the mission and heads for the safety barrier while Lin enters the city to fight the invading monsters. Before the two mages split, Mo Fan hands the deputy captain a picture of his family and begs her to protect his dad and sister if she sees them in the city. Staring at the picture, Lin vows to guard them with her life and wishes Mo Fan good luck as the duo heads in opposite directions. Over at the city's magic school, many one-eyed monsters invade the premises and attack the students. Scared, the young mages try to fight back, but their magic is rendered useless as fear causes most of them to lose their powers. Defenseless, the beasts brutally kill many students as they plow through the school. Despite the numerous casualties, a handful of students and teachers manage to survive the invasion. Mubai, a talented ice mage, remains calm in the face of danger and uses his powers to save some of his classmates. The teachers are not left out either, as Mr. Zhu, one of the school's employees, also uses light magic to save his students. At the school's middle floor, Xiaohu and his friend, Hiyu, are cornered by two monsters on both sides of a corridor. Outnumbered, Xiaohu decides to escape and uses wind magic to teleport Hiyu to another floor. However, before the duo can breathe a sigh of relief, one of the creatures appears on the new floor and catches them by surprise. The monster attacks Xiaohu and pins him to the ground while Hiyu helplessly stares at him. Trapped, Xiaohu urges Hiyu to go on without him, but the loyal friend refuses to leave. Luckily, before things turn fatal, Mo Fan miraculously appears and stuns the creature with his lightning magic, freeing Xiaohu from the beast's grasp. Despite Mo Fan's powerful attack, the resilient creature stays alive and returns to its feet as it prepares to strike again. The lightning mage hits the beast with yet another attack, but the creature remains invulnerable to the electrical current. Seeing this, Xiaohu and Mubai swiftly join forces to take down their foe. First, Xiaohu hits the creature with a highly powered wind strike to weaken its defenses. Then, Mubai finishes it off with a fire attack that turns the beast into ashes. After defeating the creature, Mubai, Xiaohu, and Hiyu head to the school's stadium, where they unite with the other survivors. Of the hundreds of students in the school, only a small fraction remain. In the following scene, the teachers hold an emergency meeting to decide their next course of action. As the school crawls with monsters, the adults conclude they must leave the premises and head for the safety barrier. But there is one major problem. The teachers are quite few and can't protect all the students on their way there. In light of this problem, some teachers propose abandoning the students and heading to the barrier themselves. However, Mr. Zhu rejects the proposal and reprimands his colleagues for trying to desert their students. Instead of leaving the kids behind, Zhu comes up with an alternative. He proposes they split the survivors into two groups, a pioneer and a trailing squad. The pioneer group would set out ahead of the others and defeat any monsters they come across. That way, they'd set a safe path for the trailing group and ensure minimal casualties. The teachers marvel at the idea and endorse the proposal as Zhu sets up the pioneer group. Concluding the meeting, Zhu tells his students about his plan and asks for volunteers to join the pioneer group. Frightened, most students reject the offer and stick with the safer, tailing group. Fortunately, Mo Fan, Mubai, and a handful of other powerful mages agree to join Zhu's team and commence their journey to the safety barrier. Having mages with various elemental powers, each member charges their magic reserve and activates their respective battle modes. Meanwhile, at the other end of the city, Lin scouts the area and runs into a one-eyed beast. The deputy captain sends a stream attack using her water magic, but the creature tactfully dodges. Stunned by its quick reflexes, Lin helplessly watches but is soon saved by Mr. Yang, a high-ranking military mage who quickly defeats the beast. Once out of danger, Mr. Yang asks Lin about the sacred spring and learns she gave it to Mo Fan. To ensure the jar gets to the barrier safely, Mr. Yang and Lin split up to search for the teen mage. Back at the magic school, the pioneer group set out to the streets and stay alert in case of an attack. Scouting the area, Xiaohu spots one of the creatures at a nearby stand and notifies his teammates. However, before they can stare in the pointed direction, the stealthy creature disappears without a trace. Scared that the area might be swarming with monsters, Mr. Zhu sends the wind mages ahead of the group to survey the streets. On his instruction, Xiaohu and Zhang, a fellow wind mage, summon a whirlwind to plow the streets ahead and check out the area for monsters. While Xiaohu doesn't run into any foes, Zhang spots a beast and stops to investigate. While she scouts the streets, the monster emerges from behind and attacks the wind mage with its claws. Shocked, Zhang barely has time to react and screams as the savage creature brutally murders her. Alerted by the noise, Xiaohu rushes to the scene and calls the attention of his teammates. While the students surround Zhang's lifeless body, the one-eyed creature reappears and coyly tries to attack Hiyu. Xiaohu spots the approaching beast and notifies Mo Fan, who launches a lightning strike at it. Agile, the creature dodges the attack, but Mo Fan swiftly follows with a second charge that stuns the beast and renders it immobile for a few seconds. Before the one-eyed creature can recover, Mr. Zhu intervenes and fires a light projectile that ultimately defeats it. After the battle, the group revisits Zhang's body and pays their final respects as they continue their journey to the barrier. Once again, Xiaohu heads ahead of the group and scouts the area for enemies. When he returns, the Wind Mage reveals his findings and explains that 3 one-eyed wolf demons are scattered at various locations. One at a nearby fountain, another in the woods, and a third at the rockery. One of the mages suggests they take them down all at once, but Mo Fan refuses. Thanks to his time with the city hunters, Mo Fan has tons of experience defeating monsters and shares some of his knowledge. The double mage reveals that all the creatures they've seen thus far are Cyclops, the lowest ranking beast with the least power. The wolf demons, on the other hand, are more fearsome and durable, making them much harder to defeat. As a result, killing each one would require teamwork, as they all have to unite to take a single wolf demon down. Drawing up a plan, Mo Fan explains they can't face one wolf demon at a time as the other 2 would rush to the scene and overpower the group. Hence, they need a distraction. To achieve this, Mo Fan splits the squad into 3 factions, 2 subgroups to distract the others and a main squad to kill their target. As Xiao, who is the fastest of the bunch, Mo Fan instructs him to lure the fountain beast out of the area. He also delegates the beast in the woods to move by and directs the ice mage to stall the creature while the rest of the group kills the remaining wolf demon. Delivering tips to aid his groupmates, Mo Fan advises Xiaohu to move in a zigzag motion as wolf demons find it difficult to change directions. To Mubai, Mo Fan instructs the ice mage to target the creature's joints as those are the most effective areas to stall the beast. After concluding their plans, the squad heeds Mo Fan's orders and heads in different directions to begin their tasks. Xiaohu takes the lead and gets the attention of the wolf demon at the fountain. Once the monster attacks, Xiaohu summons a whirlwind and heads in the opposite direction, away from his teammates. Instantly, a hot pursuit ensues as the wolf demon races after Xiaohu while the wind mage uses a zigzag motion to stall the creature. Though this tactic lasts a few seconds, it eventually proves ineffective when they reach a nearby forest. The wolf demon uses the surrounding trees as a launch pad and bounces off them, allowing it to copy the distorted motion. With this move, the beast catches up to Xiaohu and uses its claws to graze the mage's arms. Weakened by his injury, Xiaohu stops using his powers and runs from the beast. Within seconds, the wolf demon catches up to the injured mage and delivers a second strike on his back. Xiaohu falls to the ground and is swiftly pinned by the wolf demon, who moves to deal a finishing blow. Desperate for an escape, Xiaohu stuns the creature with a wind strike and makes a quick getaway before the wolf demon recovers. Nursing his injuries, the teen mage doesn't get far and instead hides behind a nearby building as the wolf demon enters the area. The creature eventually locates Xiaohu's hiding spot and launches an attack that destroys the building. Fortunately, the wind mage reacts just in time and uses Fleeting Shadow, a technique that heightens reflexes to escape the strike. Drawing up a plan to defeat the creature, Xiaohu leads the wolf demon to a wall with several metal rods lying on it. Once he reaches the intended position, the wind mage stays stagnant and lures the monster into an attack. As the wolf demon moves to strike, Xiaohu uses Fleeting Shadow to dodge, and this throws the monster out of balance. Trying to regain its footing, the wolf demon trips and lands on the nearby wall. The heavy impact causes the metal rods to fly into the air and crash down with a massive force, impaling the wolf demon. With that, Xiaohu defeats the creature and emerges victorious. Several miles out, Mubai heads to the woods and corners the second beast. Unlike Xiaohu, the ice mage fails to defeat the wolf demon and has a hard time keeping up with it. Launching an ice attack, Mubai freezes the creature's body, but the wolf demon proves invulnerable to cold temperatures and easily breaks free. Unable to stall the creature for much longer, Mubai and a fellow mage retreat to the rest of the team, with the wolf demon in hot pursuit. Meanwhile, over at the rockery, Mo Fan, alongside another lightning mage, focuses their attacks on the third wolf demon. Thanks to their collective strikes, the two mages force the creature to the brink and are moments from finishing it off when the situation takes an unfortunate turn. Mubai returns from the woods, with the second wolf demon joining the fight. Seeing this, Mo Fan leaves his teammate to finish off the weakened monster while he deals with the incoming wolf demon. Mo Fan launches a fireball at the approaching creature and stalls it while his teammates leap out of harm's way. Despite being engulfed in flames, the wolf demon quickly recovers and moves toward the group. Defending his teammates, Mo Fan uses Thunderstorm, a lightning spell that binds the wolf demon and restricts its movements. With that, the double mage launches Cremation, a top-rated fire strike, and uses it to incinerate his opponent as the group finally defeats all three wolf demons. After the battle ends, a badly injured Xiaohu reunites with the rest of the group. As his wounds are very severe, Xiaohu loses a ton of blood and requires medical assistance to stop the bleeding. In the absence of a doctor, Mr. Zhu suggests they head to a nearby pharmacy and grab a hemostatic agent to stop Xiaohu's bleeding. Mo Fan agrees to the plan but counters that the journey to the pharmacy would be dangerous to complete as a group. Instead of heading out together, Mo Fan volunteers to get the drug alone while the rest of the squad continues to the safety barrier. Before he leaves, the double mage asks Mubai to protect the group and places him in charge of the others. Vowing to return soon, Mo Fan bids Xiaohu goodbye and swiftly races toward the pharmacy. As he leaves, the rest of the group marches forward as they resume their trip. Since Xiaohu is injured, the team is forced to find a way to scout the area without his wind magic. Stepping up to the task, an earth mage volunteers and activates his unique technique, Wave Detection skill. This spell allows him to send small vibrations through the ground to detect sound frequencies from nearby foes. After searching the area, the mage declares the area safe and urges the group to move forward. Reassured by his words, the team heads on but quickly grows weary as they notice the streets are a tad bit too quiet. Seconds later, they discover their suspicions are accurate as they run into a thorn-faced wolf. Unlike the creatures they'd previously encountered, the thorn-faced wolf is a gigantic 30 feet high monster with 3 eyes, massive teeth, and a stern face. Luckily, Mubai spots the massive beast just in time and instructs his team to hide before it spots them. Seeing the wild creature, Mubai rallies the team and delivers a brief lecture on the strength of the thorn-faced wolf. From his explanation, we learn that all magical beasts are classified into 3 main tier systems based on their strength levels. The Cyclops and one-eyed wolf demon from earlier fall into the slave level, the lowest category with the weakest power and durability. The warrior level is the middle rank, with this category flaunting much bigger and stronger beasts like the thorn-faced wolf. Unlike the lower-ranked creatures, the 30-feet monster can defeat highly powered mages and also has the ability to paralyze humans with its gaze. Naturally, this makes it a formidable foe with a high lethality rate. The highest category is the commander level. Creatures in this class have the greatest size and boast of sentience, as their intelligence is the highest of the bunch. As their name suggests, the commander level has the power to issue commands to lower-level creatures and can also use them as guards in case of an attack. While the group contemplates their next move, Mo Fan makes it to the pharmacy at the other end of the street. He discovers the store is seemingly abandoned but spots and investigates a suspicious hole nearby. Inside, he sees a Cyclops munching on the dead store owner and narrowly dodges a laser strike from the creature. Seconds later, Mo Fan finds the hemostatic agent and grabs it as he moves to leave the store. However, before the teen mage can escape, the Cyclops emerges from the hole and pounces on him. Using his quick reflex, Mo Fan ducks out of the way, prompting the Cyclops to crash through a window. Right as the one-eyed creature lands outside, a thorn-faced wolf appears and immediately devours the Cyclops. Seeing this, Mo Fan hides in the store and tries to stay out of the monster's way. Sadly, the plan fails as the thorn-faced wolf spots Mo Fan through the roof and pounces on the building. Due to the creature's insane weight, the building collapses as nothing but debris remains. While the thorn-faced wolf strikes the store, Mo Fan escapes via the drainage system and uses the sewers to navigate the city undetected. He eventually returns to the group and delivers the hemostatic agent as promised. With Xiaohu growing weaker, Mr. Zhu grabs the drug and quickly applies it to the mage's injuries to stop the bleeding. In a flash, the cream takes effect and heals Xiaohu, returning the wind mage to his healthy self. After the lengthy detour, the group is finally complete and resumes their journey to the safety barrier. 1 kilometer behind the pioneer squad, the tailing group, composed of the other students and teachers, set out. On the way, they stumble on Zhang's body and pay their respects to the fallen student. To honor her memory, the group resolves to take her body along and continues behind the pioneer squad. Elsewhere, Lin continues her search for Mo Fan while saving as many civilians as possible. The deputy captain spots a boy cornered by two saber-toothed monsters and launches a water strike to stun the creatures. The young boy manages to escape thanks to the attack, while Lin is left to face the two saber-toothed monsters alone. As the creatures prepare to bounce, Lin is joined by Inspector Bai Yong, a highly ranked military tutor who owns a pet wolf. Riding his tamed creature to the scene, Bai Yong scares the two monsters off and saves Lin. Moments later, the inspector learns from the deputy captain that Mo Fan is with the Sacred Spring and joins the mission to find him as the two mages head in opposite directions. In the following scene, Mo Fan and the rest of the team reach the city's outskirts and catch a glimpse of the safety barrier. Meters from their destination, the mages run into Inspector Bai Yong and brief him on the events that transpired over the last few hours. After the exchange, Bai Yong turns his attention to Mo Fan and asks the mage to turn in the Sacred Spring for safekeeping. Though the inspector is a trusted military mage, Mo Fan is wary of his true intentions and refuses to hand it over. Instead, he holds onto the jar and insists on delivering it to Jan Kong, the army's commander. Hearing this, Bai Yong's face takes an evil demeanor as the inspector declares he's a double agent working for the Black Curia. After the shocking revelation, Bai Yong wages war on the group but attempts a diplomatic approach first. The instructor asks Mo Fan to hand over the Sacred Spring and promises to spare his friends' lives in exchange. After some thought, Mo Fan turns down the offer as turning in the Sacred Spring to the Black Curia would lead to the city's complete destruction. Once the teen mage proves uncooperative, Bai Yong grows violent and officially draws the battle line. Meanwhile, across the safety barrier, Ningxu and Joanne finally arrive at the asylum and receive medical attention. While Joanne's wounds are treated, Ningxu learns that Mo Fan and the other students have reached the barrier's borders. Concerned for their safety, the ice mage moves to rescue them, but Joanne stops her from going. The protective father orders his guards to watch Ningxu and forbids her from leaving the premises. Outnumbered, Ningxu gives up and prays for her friend's safety. Over at the border, Bai Yong begins his attack by summoning an army of black beasts. These ape-like creatures with tough skins charge at the students while Bai Yong sends his pet wolf after Mo Fan. Catching the mages by surprise, the instructor gains the upper hand as his pet wolf pins Mo Fan to the ground. Xiao, who moves to help his friend, but a black beast quickly gets in his way and claws at him. Shaken by the strike, Xiao, who is left defenseless and doesn't have time to dodge or counter the attack. Luckily, Hiyu intervenes and saves him with her water magic, but this comes at a dire cost. Choosing to forfeit her life for his, Hiyu prioritizes Xiaohu's safety and fails to dodge an enemy's strike as a black beast impales her chest. While the other mages fight off the black beasts with a series of elemental releases, Xiaohu rushes to Hiyu's side. Delivering a heartfelt speech, the injured girl thanks Xiaohu for saving her from the monsters at school. Hiyu expresses satisfaction for protecting Xiaohu and, shortly after, mutters her final words as she finally dies. As the battlefield gets more intense, Bai Yong makes more black beasts, and sends an endless stream of creatures at the mages. Realizing his friends are in a perilous situation, Mo Fan gets serious and uses his fire and lightning magic to overthrow Bai Yong's wolf and escape its grasp. Despite Mo Fan's resilience, the young mage looks at his friends and realizes they're massively outnumbered and outmatched by Bai Yong's army. This urges him to reconsider the instructor's proposal as Bai Yong again offers to spare his friends in exchange for the Sacred Spring. Backed into a tight spot, Mo Fan whips out the jar and approaches the instructor to hand it over. However, at the last minute, Mo Fan has a change of heart and refuses to turn it in. Instead, the double mage opens the jar and drinks the Sacred Spring for safekeeping, much to Bai Yong's horror. Seconds later, the instructor regains his composure as he decides to kill Mo Fan and recover the Sacred Spring from his belly. With that, Bai Yong goes on the offensive, but Mo Fan returns the favor and stuns his pet wolf with an overhead lightning strike. The double mage launches a second attack at Bai Yong, but the instructor leaps out of harm's way and sends a couple of black beasts after Mo Fan. From a distance, Mu Bai and Zhu Min, a fire mage, spot the black beasts and draw their attention away from Mo Fan. While the beasts are distracted, Mo Fan activates cremation and launches the strike at the black beasts. Zhu Min also mirrors his attack, and together, the duo creates a scorching stream of fire that incinerates several black beasts. Right then, Bai Yong's wolf recovers from the lightning strike and attacks Zhu Min with a wind-based projectile. This catches the fire mage by surprise and causes her to pass out. Shortly after, the wolf sets its sights on Mo Fan and chases him with wind strikes as Bai Yong watches from a safe distance. While the battle continues, Mr. Zhu escapes the field and sneaks behind Bai Yong for a surprise attack. Mr. Zhu uses his light magic to distract the instructor, briefly interrupting his connection with the wolf. Seizing the opportunity, Mo Fan strikes the animal with a fire and lightning combo while Mr. Zhu focuses on finishing Bai Yong off. Going defensive, the instructor summons another black beast to nullify Mr. Zhu's attacks. Immediately, Mu Bai appears out of nowhere and charges toward Bai Young with an ice sword. Caught by surprise, the instructor doesn't have time to dodge and is slain by the ice mage. With Bai Young dead, the pet wolf and all the black beasts disappear as the fight comes to a close. In the battle's aftermath, the team circles around Hiyu's lifeless body and properly mourns her as Xiao, who sobs bitterly. Minutes later, a military platoon arrives at the scene and learns of Bai Young's allegiance with the Black Curia. This revelation raises a major concern for the squad, as there could be more than one double agent in the military. Initiating an investigation, the officers retrieve Bai Young's body for an autopsy and escort the pioneer group into the safety barrier. Once the students arrive at the safe haven, Mr. Zhu calls the other teachers and instructs them to continue their journey to the safety barrier. Hours later, the officers conduct an autopsy on Bai Young's body and discover the instructor had a decaying black beast in his heart. This analysis confirms that the instructor was a Black Curia member and prompts the officers to report the case to Jan Kong. Mo Fan also meets the army commander and gives a detailed report of all the events that transpired from the sacred spring till that point. While he narrates the story, Jan Kong learns that Mo Fan had drunk the sacred spring. Since the spiritual water was a powerful relic and a treasured asset, Jan Kong freaks out and mourns the loss of the spring. However, after some thought, the commander sobers up and realizes the accident has its perks. After all, with the sacred spring gone, the Black Curia can no longer get their hands on the powerful relic. While the commander contemplates his next move, a military mage team conducts a reconnaissance mission across the city. The squad discovers a swarm of creatures in an open street and watch multiple beasts patrolling the area. Atop a skyscraper, the mages spot the famed Pterolicus, a commander-level monster with massive wings and blood-red eyes. Done with their observations, the squad moves to retreat and report their findings to the military base. However, before they can flee the scene, the Pterolicus spots them from hundreds of miles away. Without warning, the humongous creature fires a laser beam that obliterates the entire squad in seconds. The strong blast completely fries the mages and leaves behind a trail of lifeless corpses. Despite the squad's failure to report their findings, news of the Pterolicus reaches Commander Kong. Learning of the Mega Beast's presence, Kong theorizes the only way to eliminate all the other monsters in the city is to kill the Pterolicus. However, this would be quite a Herculean task, as the Pterolicus is not only massively strong but is also surrounded by many thorn-faced wolves. As the city's sole level 3 mage, Commander Kong is the only one who stands a chance against the Pterolicus. Despite his low odds, the commander remains courageous and declares war against the Mega Beast. Accompanied by the realm's strongest sorcerers, Kong takes to the skies and heads to battle the Pterolicus. While the squad leaves, Mo Fan stays behind to search the safe haven for his dad and sister. The teen mage heads to the barrier's intelligence unit and has an officer search the database for his family's names. Sadly, neither his dad nor sister shows up on the system, thus confirming they haven't made it into the safety barrier. While Mo Fan is still processing the news, an army inspector enters the room and reveals major updates about the monster invasion. Eavesdropping, Mo Fan learns the army has finally traced the creature's entry point into the city. From the reports, he discovers that the monsters had dug an underground passage through the city's borders and were using the sewer system to access the area. Despite this new info, the inspector still struggles to find the entry point's exact location, as the city's sewer system is too broad and complicated. Having heard the entire thing, Mo Fan brainstorms ways to narrow their search and devises a plan to help. Thanks to his experience with the city hunters, Mo Fan encountered a handful of cyclops in certain parts of the city and inferred those areas were the creature's way in. Sharing his knowledge with the inspector, the army man summons 2 other city hunters and employs their help in finding the monster's hidden entrance. Checking their digital records, the team locates the city parts with the most activity in months and narrows it down to a local high school. Sadly, this location happens to be Xingxia's high school, causing Mo Fan to grow even more worried for his dad and sister. Elsewhere, Mo Fan's dad, Jiaxing, searches the city for his son. In the abandoned streets, he spots a lifeless body that resembles Mo Fan and heads to check it out. Turning the body, the old man realizes it isn't his son's and sighs in relief. However, Jiaxing's joy is short-lived as the man stumbles into a saber-toothed monster and runs for his life. After a few meters, Jiaxing reaches a dead end and helplessly watches as the creature pounces on him. Fortunately, Lin appears just in time to save the old man from the attacking beast. Summoning a powerful water stream, the deputy chief sends the saber-toothed monster into the air and drops it to the ground. Falling hard, the creature hits the road with a heavy thud and immediately passes out while Lin rushes to Jiaxing's side. Still in shock, the old man faints in Lin's arms, leaving the deputy chief in a difficult position as multiple beasts invade the area. Fulfilling her promise to Mo Fan, Lin defends Jiaxing and sacrifices her life to protect him from the incoming creatures. Hours later, Jiaxing is rescued and taken to the safety barrier, where he reunites with Mo Fan. As expected, father and son are relieved to see each other and wrap themselves in a warm embrace. Though Mo Fan is reunited with his dad, the mage worries about his sister and sets out to look for her. He tags along with the city hunters and joins them on their mission outside the barrier. Concerned for his safety, Mo Fan's classmates discourage him from returning to the city, but the brave mage insists on leaving and begins his search for Xingxia. Together, Mo Fan and the city hunters board a car and drive through the city streets. Meanwhile, at the local high school, Xingxia and a group of survivors escape the monsters and seek refuge in a nearby supermarket. Though the area is currently safe, the store is exposed and isn't protected from monsters. Scared that the creatures might come in, the survivors decide to leave the room and head for the safety barrier. Since the monsters lurk around the streets, the group chooses to go underground and use the sewer system. Sadly, this plan is less than ideal for the disabled Xingxia, as her wheelchair would be unable to plow the underground terrain. A fellow high schooler suggests they join forces and carry Xingxia, but the survivors refuse and ditch her. Seeing this, the kind-hearted high schooler offers to carry Xingxia alone, but the disabled girl refuses. Rather than struggle, Xingxia resigns her destiny to fate and hands the girl a bracelet, alongside a message for Mo Fan. Respecting her decision, the girl collects the bracelet and promises to send help before leaving to join the others. About a couple miles from the supermarket, Mo Fan and the city hunters step out of the car to continue their journey on foot. Scouting the area, one of the group's wind mages creates a whirlwind and navigates the surrounding streets. On the way, he gets ambushed by 3 Cyclops but easily blows them off with a massive tornado. Minutes later, the sorcerer clears a safe path and returns to the rest of the group. As the city hunters navigate the streets, Mo Fan hears an injured man screaming from an alleyway. The man eventually makes it to the street but instantly stumbles to the ground and dies. Puzzled, Mo Fan observes the surrounding streets and spots a girl's lifeless body. Upon closer inspection, Mo Fan finds Xingxia's bracelet on her wrist and realizes his sister must be nearby. Searching for clues, the group notices some important details and uses them to figure out where the victims came from. The dead man was wearing a supermarket uniform, so they infer that he must have come from the local store. Spotting a blood trail from the sewers, Mo Fan realizes the oblivious victims had tried to escape via the tunnels, but were unaware they were walking right into the monster's lair. Since Xingxia is disabled, Mo Fan figures she didn't go with the group and instantly heads for the supermarket. While the city hunters continue their mission to find the monster's entry spot, Mo Fan takes a detour and goes to find his sister. Back at the supermarket, Xingxia grabs a knife and prepares to defend herself from the monsters. Hiding behind the store's aisles, Xingxia finds Cyclops have overrun the entire area. Only meters away from the monsters, she abandons her wheelchair and hides inside a nearby fridge. After a while, a Cyclop, circling the perimeter, spots the wheelchair and destroys it. Thanks to the fridge's cold temperature, Xingxia is able to conceal her heat signature, and this proves useful as Cyclops use thermal energy to identify their targets. Luckily, Xingxia's desperate move buys her some time, but the disabled girl struggles to remain in the cold spot as the fridge's temperature is below freezing point. Minutes later, Mo Fan shows up at the store's parking lot and fries a nearby monster with his lightning magic. A second creature charges at him, but Mo Fan dodges and enters the store via a window hole. Inside, the double mage meets a masked man who appears to be a Black Curia member. Mo Fan immediately finds the masked man familiar and suspects he might be someone from his past. Confirming his suspicions, the anonymous man tosses his mask and reveals he's none other than Yuang, the mage Mo Fan defeated in the Sacred Spring tournament. On a closer look, Mo Fan realizes half of Yuang's face is disfigured and inquires about it. Narrating the story behind his scar, Yuang reveals he was previously sent by the Black Curia to steal the Sacred Spring. However, to gain access to the protected relic, he had to beat Mo Fan in a fight. Sadly, since the Ice Mage was defeated during their duel, he lost the chance to visit the Sacred Spring and was punished by the Black Curia's higher officials. This penalty led to Yuang's scar, which ultimately grew the Ice Mage's disdain for Mo Fan. Seeking revenge, Yuang attacks the double mage and flaunts a newly acquired power. Unlike their previous match, Yuang doesn't use his ice magic but instead summons an army of black beasts to do his bidding. Overwhelmed by the sheer amount of creatures, Mo-Fan sprints off and launches a fire attack from a distance. Despite the fiery strike, the black beasts aren't phased and swiftly chase after the double mage while Yuang watches from a distance. To avoid the black beasts, Mo-Fan races to the top of an escalator and stuns the monsters with a lightning strike. This attack manages to stall them, but it's quite evident that Mo-Fan's current magic is too weak to defeat such a large horde. While watching the fight, Yuang gets a call from a Black Curia member requesting his attention outside. The caller reveals the city hunters have located the monster's entry point and asks for Yuang's assistance in defeating them. Following orders, Yuang leaves his black beasts to take care of Mo-Fan while he exits the store to join his colleague. On the upper floor, Mo-Fan is still battling the black beasts, and eventually gets backed into a corner. With no other means of escape, the double mage enters the store's surveillance room and locks the door behind him. Inside, Mo-Fan sees live footage of the building's cameras and spots Xingxia on one of the monitors. With his sister in danger, Mo-Fan decides to defeat the black beasts and save Xingxia as soon as possible. In a quest to attain nebula status, the double mage focuses all his power on his amulet and tries to access the sacred spring within him. Thanks to the amulet's help, Mo-Fan absorbs the sacred spring and finally attains the nebula status. Once he achieves this new power, the double mage uses the Book of Star Chart to increase his abilities. Now overwhelmed with magical energy, Mo-Fan engulfs his entire body in flames and prepares himself for battle. In a flash, the black beasts break the door and troop in to battle the leveled-up mage. Once inside, the perceptive beasts instantly sense a power change in Mo-Fan and are taken aback by his new nebula status. Wasting no time, Mo-Fan uses the Star Chart book to amplify his powers and wipes out 3 black beasts with a single fire strike. Seeing this, the surviving creatures try to sneak behind Mo-Fan and launch a surprise attack. However, their plan fails as the talented mage counters with a lightning spell that easily takes them down. While Mo-Fan battles the remaining creatures, Xingxia remains at the opposite end of the store. After hiding in the fridge for several hours, the disabled girl can no longer bear the freezing temperature and decides to change her spot. Using her arms and torso to move, Xingxia exits the fridge and rolls through the store's aisles. She hides behind a nearby shelf but is soon found by a wandering cyclop. To defend herself, Xingxia whips out a knife and stabs the monster's eyeball as she enacts her escape. The wounded Cyclop lets out a loud scream, which alerts the others' attention as 2 more Cyclops arrive at the scene. However, rather than attack Xingxia, the cannibal monsters focus on the injured Cyclop and brutally devour it. Seizing this opportunity, Xingxia flees the aisle and rolls under a shelf to avoid the remaining monsters. After the Cyclops are done eating their kind, they set their sights on Xingxia and try to reach under the shelf. Luckily, Mo-Fan shows up just in time to stop the creatures and sets them all ablaze. The double mage helps Xingxia out of her hiding spot, but the disabled sister immediately passes out in his arms. Feeling her body temperature, Mo-Fan realizes Xingxia is freezing and summons a ring of fire to warm her up. After a few seconds, Xingxia's temperature normalizes as the recovered sister regains consciousness and embraces Mo-Fan. Now reunited, the double mage returns Xingxia's bracelet and vows to always protect her. After the siblings' heartfelt reunion, Mo-Fan carries his sister out of the store and runs into several wolf demons in the parking lot. Sensing Mo-Fan's Star Chart magic, the low-powered monsters acknowledge they are no match for the Nebula Sorcerer and intentionally avoid him. Exhausted, Mo-Fan and Xingxia sit on a nearby bench to regain their strength and catch up on their respective lives. While they rest, Mo-Fan tells Xingxia about his journey to the supermarket and reveals the city hunters are currently searching for the monster's secret entrance. Though Mo-Fan is concerned for his friend's safety, Mo-Fan prioritizes Xingxia and decides to drop her off at the safety barrier. As the Nebula Mage moves to stand, he feels a sharp pain in his arm caused by a battle wound. Trying to soothe her brother's injury, Xingxia places her hand on the bloody spot and presses hard to stop the healing. Right as Xingxia's skin makes contact with Mo-Fan's injury, something miraculous happens as her hand begins to glow. Within seconds, Mo-Fan's arm fully heals, with the mage instantly regaining all of his strength. Trying to make sense of what happened, Mo-Fan theorizes his sister might be a healing mage. This revelation is incredibly shocking, as no sorcerer in history has had the ability to heal others. Delighted by Xingxia's new powers, Mo-Fan spins his sister around and compliments her unique skills. Now fully recovered, the Nebula Mage places Xingxia on a nearby bike and moves to drop her off in the safety barrier. Midway into their trip, Mo-Fan hits the brakes as they run into a thorn-faced wolf in the middle of the street. Though Mo-Fan has attained Nebula status, his strength remains weaker than that of the warrior-level monster. Aware of the power difference between them, Mo-Fan doesn't stop to fight and drives the bike in the opposite direction. The thorn-faced wolf chases after them, but the duo successfully escapes it and hides in a nearby alley. Over at the local high school, the city hunters finally arrive at their destination and locate the monster's entry point. In the school's playground, the mages run into a survivor and rescue her from an invading cyclop. When the slave-level creature spots the mages, it lets out a distress cry, requesting for reinforcements. Seeing this, the city hunters get to work and launch an attack to defeat the cyclops and seal the entry point in one fell swoop. Combining their elemental releases, the sorcerers send the cyclop back into the underground tunnel and make a large rock to seal the entrance. Despite their merged powers, the city hunters fail to properly block the entrance as several monsters break the rock and emerge to the surface. The city hunters are stunned to see the emerging creatures but do not waste time attacking them as a heated battle ensues. The mages destroy a handful of monsters, but this barely achieves much as more creatures emerge from the underground tunnels. Minutes later, the Black Curia arrives at the scene as Yuang and his colleague challenge the city hunters to a duel. Yuang initiates the attack and launches a series of ice crystals at the hunters. Having tons of combat experience, the mages immediately summon several rocks to block the ice and follow up with a counterattack. They retaliate with a fire, wind, and ice combo and easily push the Black Curia members to a defensive stance. Yuang forms an ice wall to block the incoming attack, but the hunters' collective strikeout matches his magic. Overwhelmed by the city hunters, Yuang's partner abandons the fight and tries to make a run for it. He makes it a few feet away but is swiftly hit with an ice attack from one of the mages. With his partner down, Yuang grows desperate and summons an army of black beasts to help even the battlefield. Despite the reinforcements, the city hunters easily defeat the creatures and take out Yuang with a massive blast. While the high school battle ends, another one begins across the city as Commander Kong and his supporting mages confront the Terralicus and its minions. Before the soldiers can get to the Terralicus, the Beastmaster sends a massive army of thorn-faced wolves and cyclops after them. As Commander Kong needs 100% of his energy to face the Terralicus, the rest of the squad takes care of the lower creatures. The powerful mages combine their elemental powers and successfully clear a safe path for the commander. Though the mages are some of the realm's most powerful warriors, the thorn-faced wolves are equally as strong. As a result, both sides are completely whipped out, leaving the Terralicus and Commander Kong as the battle's sole survivors. Determined to avenge his fallen teammates, Kong takes to the skies and deals several blows to the monster's leader. After going on the defensive, the Terralicus switches gears and sends a sonic blast that stuns Kong and hauls him backward. Quickly regaining his balance, the commander returns to the skies and activates his signature move, Zodiac Magic. Unlike Starchart Magic, this ability increases a sorcerer's powers in hundredfolds and allows them to attain a supernatural level with next to no limits. With his Zodiac Magic activated, Commander Kong launches Heavenly Burial, an S-grade fire-based magic that sends hundreds of overhead flames at the opponent. While the Terralicus uses its wings to shield itself from the fire, Commander Kong charges at the beast and collides with it in a head-on attack. The collision of the two titans generates a massive fireball, engulfing the duo and incinerating both parties. Hundreds of miles out, Mofan and Xinxia continue their drive to the safety barrier and spot Commander Kong's massive blast. Seeing this, Mofan grows even more worried for the city hunters and takes a detour to check on them. Arriving at the high school, the Nebula Mage discovers the group has defeated Yuang but has used all their powers in the process. Before the hunters get a chance to celebrate their victory, a thorn-faced wolf appears and prepares to devour the weakened mages. With his friends in danger, Mofan steps up and courageously faces the warrior-level creature. Despite being less powerful, the Nebula Mage launches a Starchart flame that manages to push the thorn-faced wolf back a few feet. Luckily, the creature falls back into the entry point and lands with a heavy thud, resulting in an avalanche that seals the hole. With the Terralicus defeated and the monster's entrance sealed, the city is finally saved as the mages heave a sigh of relief. In the closing scene, Yuang recovers and watches Mofan from a distance. Realizing he can't defeat the Nebula Mage, Yuang retreats but swears to have his revenge someday as he heads back to the Black Curia's headquarters. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this and want to see more, please make sure to drop a like and subscribe to the channel with notifications turned on so you never miss a future video. And until next time guys, take care.